Welcome once again to the Rec Poker Podcast, sponsored as always by Running Aces Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel, and website AMP. In this chats edition of the podcast, we're going to hang out with Ashley Adams. He's a player, he's an author, he's a radio host, and a bunch of other stuff. So we're happy to introduce him to Rec Poker Nation. But first, we're going to introduce our panel. My name is Steve Fredland. I go by Rec Poker Steve in our Poker Stars home game. And a quote that I thought of when I was thinking about Ashley was from the great Aristotle, who said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit."
Wow. And I'm Chris Jones. I'm 5x5 on Poker Stars and Twitter. And I don't have a quote, but I'm letting us know that John is here as well in the chat. So he's ready to join us as well.
Damn it. Well, out of the whole quote segment, I see what's going on.
Well, I'm Jim Reed, Blusterini in the home game, and Hold'em_Steelers on Twitter. And Chris stole my quote. I was also going to talk about John being here and ready to introduce himself.
All right. Well, I am actually John Somsky, and I am Poker Geek MN everywhere. And I was late today, in case you couldn't tell. And I have a quote from Lou Krieger. It's, I believe in poker. I believe in poker the way I believe in the American dream. Poker is good for you. It enriches the soul, sharpens the intellect, heals the spirit, and when played well, nourishes the wallet.
Wow.
Man, that's terrific. And I guess Rob must have something too, right?
Oh, yeah,
I do. Yes, I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50 everywhere. And from the very great Tommy Angelo, I'm going to fold and live to fold again.
Well done, Rob. Well, just a few things, guys, real quick. Obviously, in the community section, we're going to dig into this in more detail, but just quick deals. Marek Madness is over. Taylor Moss is our champion. The videos are available on YouTube. Check those out. Our Learn Pro Poker partnership is fully underway, and we have a ton of great content coming up for you guys with seminars, book studies, learning with partners, all of that jazz. We'll talk more about that later in the show, but let's bring him in, Mr. Ashley Adams. How are you, sir?
I'm overwhelmed and a little intimidated, and I have a feeling this really isn't a show. The five of you just get together to talk shit for an hour with each other. If anybody's listening in, that's all well good. I'm impressed by the people you quoted. Aristotle, but Tommy Angelo and Luke Krieger, man, those guys. I'm friendly with Tommy, and I was a very close associate with Lou for many, many years. I miss him awfully, especially this time of year. It was our mutual holiday of Passover. We shared New York roots, and he was actually the guy. He got me into writing. I sent him my first draft of my first book. It was because if he had said, "This stuff sucks, don't bother," I would not be a writer, but he encouraged me. So I owe a lot to Lou Krieger.
Oh, that's great. And I wish, so Tommy Angelo just wrote our new introductory theme music for the podcast, because he was on here. When he was on, he was playing harmonica. And so I wish I would have had that ready for this episode. That would have been very fitting, but it's going to be coming. The new intro for Rec Poker involves Tommy Angelo playing a little blues harmonica. But man, it's so fun to have you here. And I know it's been a while to get you on board here. You've got a new book. And so we want to talk a little bit about that, but let's just introduce you to Rec Poker Nation. I know a lot of us recreational players maybe aren't sure. Who is this Ashley Adams guy? He comes on here. He's the fastest guy to ever figure out that we just talk crap on here, that he actually realizes we don't have a strategy. That was the fastest anybody's ever figured that out.
I was going to say, he must be good at poker, because that was a good soul read right there.
It was. He was right on. Yeah. So who are you, man? Where did you come from? What's your deal in the poker world?
Well, I got to tell you, you might not know me. I may not be a household word, but I have a quick story that just occurred to me when you said we got to introduce our listeners to you. About 15 years ago, my hobby is driving around the country and flying around the world visiting poker games. That's how I spend my time when I'm not working my day job. I'm a union negotiator for the teachers union. And in my off weeks and off hours, I play and write about poker. So I'm on a poker adventure playing at the now deceased World Poker Open at the Gold Strike in Tunica. And I'm playing in a side game. I had busted out of the tournament in the money, but just barely. And I'm playing in a side game, and there's a guy, and we're talking, and he tells me his brother has a poker game in Alabama. Now, Alabama, for those who are geographically challenged, is on the opposite side of Mississippi from Tunica. You got to go through the whole state, then you get to Alabama. So I'm intrigued, and I say, I'd love to go to that game. He says, well, it's tomorrow night. It's only on Tuesdays. I don't think you'll be able to make it. I said, are you kidding? I'll drive 4 hours to the game anytime. And
full-on degenerate.
That's right. And it's a wonderful drive. If you've never driven through Mississippi, you see Route 40, which is the old highway before they had an interstate, and you get to see all the roadhouses and old gas stations and old motor hotels, etc. I'm having a ball. I arrive. I won't tell you the whole story, but I find the game in the woods, in a Quonset hut, incredibly hard to find. I go in, and they have a home game. And they're all Alabama country boys, and we're having a good time. And they don't know me from Adam or Adams. They don't know me at all. We're playing. They're actually pretty good. And 2 hours into the game, there's a knock on the door. And they say, oh, I think that's Bubba. And sure enough, a guy in overalls comes to the door and, hey, Bubba, come on in. Hey, we got a special guest tonight. He met my brother over in Tunica, and he came all this way because he loves to play. And here he is. It's Ashley. And he looks at me and he says, Ashley Adams, the poker writer? In the middle of the Alabama woods. It's the only time anyone has ever recognized me. First name, last name, picture, voice. And here I am in the middle of the Alabama woods. And in his life, I'm a celebrity. We played for 3 more hours into the night. And so the fact that you guys don't know me, only one guy, his name is Bubba, lives in Alabama.
Well, but that's the thing. Like we had literally never heard of you. Like never, ever had any of us ever heard of you. And then I got this text from a number I didn't know. They're like, it's like, hey, Steve. And I'm like, who is this? And it said, Bubba. I'm like, well, okay, what's up, Bubba? You got to interview Ashley Adams. And so here we are. And
he's now my publicist. I was a home game player in Massachusetts, and Foxwoods opened 1992. They opened a poker room. They actually were open for bingo before that, but they opened a poker room. I'd never played in a casino. I was in my 30s. I went there. I lost for a year playing 7-card stud and Hold'em, limit Hold'em. Figured out stud, started to win, and my synagogue, I'm Jewish, my synagogue had a fundraiser. And people are given different gifts, dinner for 10 that they'll cook for you, or somebody has a summer house somewhere, and if you rent it for a weekend. I didn't have any of that shit. I don't have a summer house. I can't cook. But what could I do? I could give poker lessons because I had learned to win, right? Poker lessons. But lessons are kind of a chintzy gift. It's nothing substantive. So I figured I'd write a manual on how to beat the 7-card stud game. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. And they had the auction. I think we raised $200 for my poker lessons and the book or the pamphlet. But that was back in the early days of RGP, recreational gambling poker, which was, any of you remember that?
John,
it was like
John and Rob, yeah.
Like 2+2, but before 2+2 existed, except it was a total free-for-all. There was no moderator. It was just people would, but some really big names used to post. Lou Krieger posted, Sklansky posted, Mike Caro posted. And, I would participating, kind of lurking, but occasionally commenting. I'm a big mouth. And somebody asked if somebody could recommend a good 7-card stud book. And just because I'm a wise ass, I said, well, everybody knows the Sklansky book for advanced players. But the really good book is Adams's Winning 7-Card Stud. And people are, for whatever reason, they said, oh, I'd love to see it. I'd pay $10 for that. So I sold my electronic book to a bunch of people, including the agent for John Vorhaus, Greg Dinkin, who wrote Amarillo Slim in a World Full of Fat People and the Poker MBA. And he also was an agent. And he bought it for $10 and wrote me back. He said, you want to turn this into a real book? And I said, do I have to pay anything? Those vanity presses where you pay money and you too can be an author. He said, no, we'll get you a non-refundable advance between $3,000 and $5,000, and then I'll explain how you turn it into a book. And he did, and I did, and I got the money, and it became a book. And once you write a book that's really publishable book, not you write your own thing and you publish it, but a real publishing company book back in the day, that qualifies you as an expert. He told me to start writing articles to promote it, and I found a site that published my article, the Poker Forum. I wrote 100 different articles for him. Then Poker News picked me up when I published my second book, and then a radio show contacted me about being the host, and House of Cards, as it turns out. And now I write books. I just wrote Wing Poker in 30 Minutes a Day, which is a book for beginning and intermediate no limit hold'em players who like to play, but they haven't yet learned how to win consistently, which with the rake is hard to do, but this will get them to win. Maybe not a lot of money. It's not for the player who is winning that wants to be a world champion. There are other books for them. It's not for the professional player to become a better professional player. But if you're losing or breaking even and you want to learn how to win when you go to the casino, this book will help you.
Well, yeah, and that's the book I wanted to really kind of chat about. I know there's a number of questions or whatever too, but that's the one that really was appealing to me. I know it's your latest book, but how to win poker in 30 minutes a day. That whole idea of it's almost like a lean Six Sigma almost approach. Let's just make marginal incremental changes rather than let's just get in and learn GTO and all that sort of stuff. And everybody's at a different stage on their poker journey. But yeah, I think that's a very intriguing book, I think, for especially beginning players, recreational players who are maybe even listening to our show, it's overwhelming because some of the lingo and stuff, much less some of the more advanced podcasts. So talk a little bit about that. Who is the target audience for that book, and what is sort of that premise of just kind of learning 30 minutes a day? Are you just, you're really focusing on foundations, or is it building on itself, or what's kind of the construct of that book?
The target audience are the recreational player who wants to be a winning recreational player.
And how do you define recreational player?
Somebody who plays once a month, once a week, twice a week, 3 times every day, loves it, but they're not looking to make their living playing poker. They play with their friends, and maybe they go to a casino, they're a little intimidated. Maybe they're comfortable in a casino, but they haven't yet really figured out enough of the game to consistently beat it, because it's hard. They don't want to devote hours and hours a week of study. And, one could, and if you are really obsessed with becoming a professional player, well, maybe this is a step on the way, but it's not going to satisfy you. But it will satisfy somebody who wants bite-sized pieces. So where do I start? I don't think I've ever seen anybody write about this as much as I think it should be written. How to find a game where you can win. Game selection is huge. People learn all these little edges and things, but if you're playing against people who are as good as you or better, or even a little worse, but they're not bad, there's no sucker in the game, there's nobody who is just a gambler, frankly, you're not going to win. Unless you're really, really, really good, because the rake especially now with the $5 rake or 6 or 5+2, where they take the bad beat or whatever, you're just not going to win. You may have a good time if you don't mind losing, but you're not going to win. And I think, frankly, winning is a big piece of my game. I mean, I enjoy it when I walk away with more money, and I don't enjoy it. I mean, people say, "Oh, I just love the camaraderie." I don't enjoy it if I don't think
winning is more fun. I enjoy the camaraderie, but winning is more fun. I will be honest with that. So when you talk about game selection, are you talking about like, okay, the local casino has these things and I should figure out which game? Is it that, or should I be thinking about home games, or is it like cash versus tournament? Like, is it all of that, or what do you mean when you're saying game selection for the recreational player?
I'm talking about finding a cash game in a casino or a poker club. There are lots of private poker rooms. Finding one that is going to be profitable. I'm not talking about tournaments. Tournaments are great. I play in them occasionally. That's not what this book is geared for. If you are a sit and go player, you'll learn some stuff here, but you're not going to really, that's not what the ballpark of this book is. But you will learn about basic odds, discipline, identifying opponents who are exploitable, ranges. You'll learn about not trying to pinpoint the hand that the opponent has and worrying about some tell, like he always moves his glasses, it means he's bluffing. I mean, I talk about tells. There are some big ones that are very simple and easy, but most of the focus is on having a disciplined, solid game and finding players who don't and beating them.
And beating them handily, right? And then laying the whoop down on them. So this idea of
running aces many times. One of my favorite rooms. I was there the week they opened. My brother lives in St. Paul, and I have been out there. I used to play at Canterbury back when they had a stud game. They don't anymore, so I'll just take my game. I know they don't have no limit in Minnesota, but they have, 2 to 100, something like that.
Yep.
It's pretty good. I love running aces. Are you a harness bettor as well? Do you bet comparisons?
I'm not. I don't know if anybody in the panel does it all, but that's kind of our hometown casino. They're our sponsor, and it's 20 minutes from my house. So yeah, we're big fans of the running aces. But it doesn't look like there's any harness bettors, at least that are nodding their head or willing to admit it here.
Well, I happen to come from a family of harness racing. It's a dying sport, sadly, but I used to go up to Saratoga all the time, Vernon Downs, Yonkers. And I mean, it was really amazing to me. I only cared about running aces because of the poker. And then to see, oh my God, they have harness racing too. It's, a quinella. Anyway.
And I'm just looking at that going, what are they doing out there? Like, I don't really get it.
Well, they kind of built the track as an excuse to have poker, right?
Of course, yeah, that's what Canterbury did too. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I love it up there. And my brother used to run the Mystery Cafe dinner theaters in the Twin City area. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but he was a big deal. And now he is the announcer at the St. Paul Saints. He is the voice of the St. Paul Saints in their AAA team, and they got their new park. I don't know if you guys have ever been down there. They're a wonderful place.
Midway Stadium, right? Or no, it's called something else.
TCF Field, I think.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah, it is beautiful though. Yeah, I love walking around there. John, did you have a question or comment?
Well, actually, I have two main questions. So, despite what everyone said, I think I've listened to most episodes of House of Cards, at least most of them that you were on early on, at least. And I believe I heard from Nate Mavis, and correct me if this isn't you, but he said that there was an individual who used to go in. This was before they banned smoking in the casinos.
I know where you're going.
And so now everyone is complaining about having to wear a mask to play poker. But this was before the smoking was banned. So there was an individual who used to go to Foxwoods in a World War II vintage gas mask and play at the tables.
That was me.
That's what I thought. I wanted to verify that was in fact you.
I had 2 different masks. One was for local consumption, but it was bulky, so I wouldn't travel with. Then I had to travel as it was a painter's NIOSH and OSHA approved dual regulator gas mask. And I would wear it. I travel with it. I wore it at Canterbury because they used to have smoking there. And I wore it in Tunica and in Atlantic City and all over the country. That's absolutely right. In fact, I have a quick funny story. I was playing in Tucson, Arizona. Now, there's very good poker in Arizona. It's kind of like it is in Minnesota. They have a limit. I think now it's 500, so you can't play pure no limit, but pretty damn close. But back in the day, limit poker was big. 2040 was the game. And I had played in Casino, Arizona, Talking Stick up in Phoenix, and I had driven down to Tucson to play at Desert Diamond. I don't know if any of these rooms are familiar to you. It was a big room at the time. Desert Diamond was in a Quonset hut. It was a smoky hell. You could barely see your hand. It was so smoky. So I went in, and wouldn't you know it, it's a Saturday night, and there are lists on all the games, the 10-20 Hold'em game. There's a list a mile long, the lower stakes games, big list. The only game that didn't have a long list was a no limit game, which was a very unusual commodity. In the back of the room, they were playing 5, 10, 25 blind. I went to the game. And my bankroll was pretty feeble. I had $1,000 on me, which is not feeble in general. It's a lot of money, but for that game, $1,000 is not a lot of money. But I was watching the game, and I said, if the perfect seat opens up, and seating is, I will take it. And I scoped out that the perfect seat was 2 to the left of the crazy man and 1 to the left of the pro. There was a guy that was clearly better than everybody else. So then if that third seat to his immediate left, right, the big money would have to go through him, and then I get to see both of them act, I'll sit down. And sure enough, as soon as I'm saying that to myself, the seat opens up and I sit down with my gas mask. It's a smoky hell. So these are all kind of good old boys, wealthy good old boys. They see me sit down with my gas mask. I say, I need $5,000 in chips, please. I sound like Darth Vader. I give them my $1,000. They give me $1,000 in chips. I am the big blind. First hand, it's called around. It's like 10-handed, and just about everybody calls. And the flop doesn't help, and somebody bets $100 and I fold. That's my first hand. I lose my $25. Second hand, I am the second blind, $10. I am dealt the Queen 10 of hearts. I still remember it. It's like 20 years ago, but I remember this hand vividly. Big blind, $25. Everybody calls. To me, everybody, you got to call, right? Queen 10 of hearts. I call. So we're all in. It's like $250 in the pot. The flop is ace, 9, 6 hearts. I scored the second nut flush on the flop. Wild man. The pro to my right, he's the $5 blind that had called. He bets $100. Well, I have the second nut flush, and I'm not a no limit player particularly. I don't really know anything about anything. I just wanted to sit in a game. So what do? I shove in all my chips because I don't want the king to come out and lose, So fold. I'm thinking, I'm going to win $300. They all fold. Fold. Comes to the pro, and he looks at me in my gas mask and my $1,000, which, by the way, just spilled. I tried to neatly, it all falled over, big, huge mess. And he looks at me, having put in $100, and he says, and this is like right out of a movie, my pappy always told me that if I'm raised by a man in a gas mask, I should fold. And he folds. And I went and I don't take my mask off. I'm raking in the chips. I'm frankly pleased to have that extra $300. And the dealer says, "We're now playing Omaha, gentlemen." Apparently, it was a dealer's choice game once a round, and the button couldn't call the next game for another round, and then the button was, so the guy that was the button calls Omaha. I didn't know what was going on. I pulled my mask down. I said, I thought, typical Eastern New York guy, Jew, right, who's going to complain. So I thought this was Hold'em. I don't understand. I came to this game. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm sorry, sir. It's a dealer's choice game. I'm sorry they didn't inform that to you when you came in. Sorry. But it is Omaha. You're welcome to stay, or if there is a list, you're welcome to leave. So I put my mask back on, and I'm upset. I stacked my chips. I'm frankly pleased because now I don't have to stay and risk losing it back. But I don't want to act. I look like a pussy. So I'm acting a little upset. So I take my chips. I need another rack for the extra 300. I stack them all up, and I leave. And the pro to my right, I swear to God, says, looking at me as I walk away, "Who was that masked man?" Those of you that know the Lone Ranger know the reference. So, yeah. No limit.
Very fun. John, did you have another question or comment?
Well, yeah, the other one was the other thing that I really enjoyed from your podcast was all of your tales of the various places you went playing poker in Japan. You played, I believe, in all of the 50 states. Just maybe bring out one of your favorite stories of the most interesting places you've played.
Well, aside from the game in Alabama, which is a great and longer story that I won't task you with now, for me, part of the fun is finding a game. And you are correct. I have played poker in all 50 states, and I've played in the Northern Mariana Islands, the island of Saipan, which is a U.S. territory I did not even know existed. But for me, part of the fun is finding the game. And so any state that has casinos in it, it's fine, it's fun, but where's the challenge there? It's finding a game where it's illegal. And I have two related stories. I'll tell you the one about Lynchburg, Virginia. It was 2005. Poker is really starting to open up across the country, Indian reservations, even legal casinos now. And it's about 30 states with legal poker, not Virginia, and not Lynchburg. Lynchburg is, if you were to have a heart of the Bible Belt, it would be Lynchburg, because that's where Jerry Falwell was from. That's where Liberty University is. And Jerry Falwell Jr. is, I mean, from my opinion, on the ridiculous radical right wing of the right wingers. And gambling is frowned upon of any kind. So I have to be there for a conference, and I am determined, for political reasons, spiritual reasons, and personal pleasure, to find a poker game somehow in Lynchburg, the heart of the Bible Belt. I hope I'm not offending anybody with my unfiltered political views, but that's
I like that you have spiritual reasons to finding a poker game. That's a new one for me, so I appreciate that.
Well, the story actually is very close to my spiritual heart because of how I found the game. So how does one go about finding it? Well, if you think about it, newspapers, right? You call the newspaper, probably the night editor knows a guy who knows the game, because, newspaper people, reporters, they know nothing. Radio stations, nothing. Some places, even the police, they know of games, nothing. Lodges, what about, the Masons, the Elks, the Moose, the Bluebirds, the VFW, like the military. Nothing. Either there were no games or they didn't want to talk to some outsider, right? Mm-hmm. So what do I do? Well, as I mentioned 3 times already, I'm a Jew from New York. So I look online, and there is a synagogue in Lynchburg. Who knew? So I call the synagogue. And you can't, I mean, I don't want to be crass about it and say, hi, this is Ashley Adams. I'm looking for a poker. They would shut me out. First of all, they wouldn't know I was a Jew with the name Adams. And he's going to use us to find a poker game? What kind of a Meshuggah Jew is this? So I get an answering machine. And the answering machine, this is Temple Hillel B'nai Torah, and we're not here right now, but if you have a message for the rabbi or you need any assistance or you're in mourning, please leave us a message. We'll call you back, something like that. So I leave a message. And the message says, I'm a Jew from Boston traveling to Lynchburg, and I'm looking for a service, like a religious service. And, and by the way, I also play poker, so if you know of any poker games, I'm also looking for that too. Figuring it couldn't hurt. The next day, I get a call from the secretary who was out for the day. She comes in twice a week, I think. She says, Mr. Adams, I'm sorry to say we do not have a daily service. We have a service on Saturday morning and Friday night only. And as you're coming in Saturday night, I'm afraid you'll miss our service. And I'm saying to myself, oh, well, I don't really care about the service. You keep going with the plan. She says, however, as far as your inquiry regarding a poker game, Mr. Margulies, who runs the talk about stereotypes, who runs the pawn shop in town, he has a game and he would love to have you join him. So I call Mr. Margulies. We exchange some Yiddish pleasantries. He invites me to his game Tuesday night. It's it's like a summer place up in the woods. He entertains people twice a month. I go up there. They have a 10-20 dealer's choice game. And just as an aside, it was kind of funny. He was a veteran, and two of the guys in the game were amputees. One guy was missing his right arm. Another guy had a prosthetic left leg. So I'm playing and they're introducing me, and it's not like all at once. They were already there. They were playing. I kind of like ingratiating myself. And finally I couldn't help myself. I lost a hand. I ended up winning about $1,000, but I lost a hand, and I said, of course, what? Do I have to give an arm and a leg to win in this game? And they all laughed. They appreciated they've been living with this for years. So that was my game in Lynchburg, Virginia. One of my favorite experiences.
Oh, that is so funny. Jim, we're going to have to wrap up pretty soon, but Jim, did you have a comment, question?
I guess one quick question. I mean, I used to think you walked into all sorts of casinos and home games all over the world. Now I understand it's mostly just thinly wooded areas and hut setup. But if you ever do end up walking into a real casino, and obviously you're used to walking into places for the first time. For some of our recreational poker fans that are also in that spot, what do you look for when you're looking for? Okay, that's a good table to sit at. That's not a good table. What are you looking for? What helps?
There's a whole chapter in my book devoted to it, but I'll give you a few things. You want to play with people who are there to have fun, who are there. They don't have to be horrible poker players, but they should not look too serious. They should be laughing or smiling or drinking. And there should be a lot of people in the hand, a lot of the hand. So if it's $1, $2, raised to 10, and everybody folds, that's not a good game. If it's 1, 2, call, a lot of limping and not a lot of raising pre-flop, that's a good game. If it's the showdown and there are 4 people showing their hands, that is a fantastic game. You want action. Also, the other thing is very quick when you walk around the room, if there are more than one table, you want the table with the most money on the table. Don't think, Oh, I don't want to be intimidated by the big stacks. A big stack means nothing. All that matters is your stack. Because if you have $50 and everybody else has $1,000, the mentality for some new players is, I'm going to be bullied. No, you can't lose more than the $50 on the table. If he has $1,000, what difference does it make? On the other hand, if you have $100 and a lot of guys are sitting there with $25, that sucks because you're not going to be able to win money. They're probably all nits. You don't want that. You want big stacked gambling players.
Nice. All right. Well, we could obviously talk for a long time. Not that you're short of stories at all. But we're gonna shut her down. But I know for a lot of folks, they're saying, "All right, this guy is entertaining. This guy's engaging. I want to know, how do I get the book? I want to know, how do I tap into the radio show? How do I connect with this guy?" So give us a roadmap for connecting with you.
First of all, I am one of those people, not obviously a big name celebrity. I answer my emails. If anybody wants to, talk about this or correspond about games all over the world and how to find them and where they are and is it safe, send me an email. It's an archaic email address. You can see how technologically inept I am. It's ASHA34 at AOL.com. The same one I've had for 20 years. I'm very loyal to, I pay them like money. Anyway, second thing is you can get my book. It's good for my ego if you buy it on Amazon, even though the publisher probably doesn't make as much as it, because I love the number going down. The bestseller number, instead of 2,173,000, it goes down to 500,000. Ooh, that's a big thing. I got one sale this month.
Like the Hendon Mob, right? You are now the 285,867th ranked player in the world.
The Hendon Mob. I think I've earned $4,000
cash player. So yeah.
Yeah, but hey, 4,000. So the other thing is, people can go to houseofcardsradio.com. The only problem with that is, since the pandemic, and even a little bit before, I have not done an interview for a long time. They do it out in New Jersey in their home, the producers of the show. And I used to go to the studio in Quincy, Massachusetts, right down the street, but now they're not coming up. They're not traveling. So I haven't actually cut a show. And by the way, it's not just a podcast. It is broadcast at over 100 stations across the country. Just because we're comparing broadcast.
Sure, I was about to gloat, but then when you said that, I kind of backed off a little bit.
Well, this was great, guys.
You've got all the old episodes are out there. Everything's out there, so people can kind of check it out. There's all kinds of interesting. Go ahead.
Youth. I interviewed Negreanu. I've interviewed them all the Giants.
You have not interviewed Rob Washam, so you have not interviewed all of the Giants.
That's true.
The ones that you're aware of, it sounds like you've interviewed.
The ones that I know from Alabama.
and see, you think this is about exposing our audience to you. This is about exposing you to some of the Mount Rushmore of recreational poker players. We've got four of them right here: Rob Washam, Chris Jones, John Somsky, Jim Reed. They are the Mount Rushmore of rec players. And the fact that you haven't interviewed them is a little bothersome to me, frankly.
Talk to my producer. They said it.
We're going to. I think that is the next step coming out of this thing. I do have a takeaway from this meeting.
And by the way, if you're going to go to Mount Rushmore, you got to stop in Deadwood, North Dakota, because they have 5 active poker rooms, including the one where Wild Bill Hickok got shot. And they
South Dakota, right? I think it's South Dakota.
South Dakota.
I know you Easterners think that Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska is all the same place. It's not. There's actually boundaries.
South Dakota. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, man, it was a pleasure to actually meet you. It was a pleasure. We've been reading your stuff. That was all kind of a shtick at the beginning. You got a ton of articles out there. You got the books out there. A great champion of poker. You've been around 400 card rooms and all these things. You're collecting chips. It's a really cool story. So I really want to encourage you guys.
See my collection.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I'd love to.
We're going to see the chip collection, I think. For those of you who are on the video, if you're listening on audio, this is a really exciting moment for you. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
He's got his wall just filled with like
chips on the right and membership clubs on the left there. Yeah, it's quite a collage.
Oh, the chip cards. Is that what that is you said, Jim?
Those are
Yeah.
the players cards. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. We're going to zoom in on that, see if we can pick up some numbers. And
That's right. We're gonna steal some of your reward points.
exactly.
I think they've expired.
Yeah, he only goes there once, so it's not really worth. But Ashley, we're going to let you go here. But man, thanks for jumping on here and spend some time with us.
Thank you, guys.
That's a real
Have a
pleasure.
good one. We're going to keep going. You can jump off there, but we will be in touch. And you guys can connect with Ashley. So houseofcardsradio.com, ASHA34 at AOL.com. If I got that right, sounds like I did. And let us know once you connect with him. Let us know about that whole deal. But guys, let's transition into the community happenings. But first, Jim, I think you got a little something from Jonathan Little, right?
Oh yeah. Why don't we see what Jonathan Little has to say about that?
Are you holding a nerd die right now?
Maybe, but
What are you giving away? What are you giving
Okay.
away?
All right, Steve, you got me. I do have a nerd die. The publisher that Ashley was kind enough to throw in under the bus there did give us. D&B Publishing, who's a great friend of the show, did give us a copy of the book to give away. And so I'm going to use this is just a conventional non-nerd die. You don't have to be a nerd to use this. Anyone can use a 6-sided die like this, based on who's in the chat. Here we go. We got number 3, Kim. Kim,
nice.
Pet Vet, gets a copy of Getting Better at Poker in 30 Minutes a Day. So
And
Kim, send me an email.
maybe it's not a good segue, but yeah, how to win poker 30 minutes a day. But Kim is our most recent Wrecking Crew member, and her page is live out there. So make sure you go out there and look at Kim Kilroy's stuff, Pet Vet stuff.
That's right.
Online.
rec.poker/petvet. You can get to know Kim, and you're going to see a lot more of her in our panel conversations, and she's got some more fun plans coming too. So I'm excited for that.
Well,
Let's see what Jonathan has to say. Yeah.
Jonathan, go ahead, man.
Here we go.
Have you ever wondered whether you should call a pre-flop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it or do you just call?
I always raise it.
What do you do with ace-king when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros. Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/recpoker right now.
All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for engaging with Rec Poker Nation. But all right, guys, what are our thoughts? I felt like I was a little bit in the tornado. I kind of got caught up in the tornado myself. I felt like I was in the tornado. What are the reactions, Jones?
It was fun. As soon as we met Ashley tonight, we knew that we were in for a bit of a wild ride, and we were not going to be. He's not someone who holds back. Let me put it that way. So I had a lot of fun getting to know him a little better. Yeah,
like
it was
John,
a great conversation.
Like John, I've heard him on the Thinking Poker podcast before, and he's told a lot of stories there, and he's got a lot of stories. I mean, I bet you could sit down with this guy for 3 or 4 hours and never hear the same thing twice. He'd have another story and another story and another story. And he's so animated, just really fun to listen to.
I think the key to that is he's able to take, like, each story is 40 minutes long. So you don't need that many stories. I was like, a very detailed story. It was very fun to listen to. I was like, I would have told that story in about 15 seconds because I just don't have the personality like that. I'd be like, yeah, I went to this room. They knocked on the door. It was Bubba. I'd be like, it's over. He's got all the details of all the hands. And he's a character for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely the best part of the podcast, were just the different stories he'd have, and less so about the strategy or this. It just him learning how to play in different places across the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a million of them. So you guys, John and Rob, you guys both were listeners to the radio show or the podcast?
Yeah, I listened to most of House of Cards.
So were you listening to it on the radio or as a podcast?
As a podcast.
How about you, Rob?
No, I've just heard him on the Thinking Poker podcast.
Oh, okay.
I've never listened to the House of Cards one, but I'm familiar with him and what he's done, because I think he's been on there a couple times on the Thinking Poker podcast. So
yeah, and he's been writing for a few years. He still occasionally writes, puts things up on Poker News, or writes for 888 Poker or various other spots.
I just like this grind up story, right? Where he just started writing and just kept contributing to places and found someone who would publish his blog and then wrote more blogs. And then, like that's how you got to do it, right? You got to just keep writing for free, writing for yourself, just trying to find people to put your writing places. And then if you do enough writing, you'll get better at it. People will notice, and then maybe someone will pay you to do some writing. It's you got to follow your passion for that. That resonated with me.
Yeah, and maybe someday Chris Jones will invite you to the conference that he plans, his writers conference. Maybe someday Ashley Adams will be at the Loft Writing Conference.
Could be one day.
Right, with your Nobel Prize winners that you've got at that thing.
Right.
Well, guys, let's transition. Good stuff from Ashley. It was fun to meet him. It's fun to meet all kinds of different characters. But let's move into some of the community happenings that we have going on. Led, of course, by the great John Somsky. What do you got for us this week, sir?
Well, believe it or not, we actually played a few poker games.
We mixed it up and played some poker this week.
Yeah, we had a few.
Okay.
So on March 22nd, Rocket Box X.
Hey, Woody Adams. Welcome back, buddy.
Very first Daily Standard victory.
Oh,
so I think part of the issue, he lives in Pennsylvania, so it's actually harder to play the home games because you still have to download. You can't play on the Pennsylvania client. You have to download the normal PokerStars client, but he was finally able to do that and join us. So that was great.
Did you walk him through that, John? I think, were you or somebody?
No, he figured it out on his own. I did mention it a while ago.
Yeah.
He was a little, the way you have to do it, you have to be somewhere else. So you pretend you're somewhere else by a VPN.
Yep.
The issue is you cannot play while you are on a VPN. That is against the PokerStars terms of service.
Okay.
So he was just wanting to be extra careful with that. I don't know if he actually drove somewhere to download it or eventually convinced himself that it was okay just to download and then not play, but whatever.
Okay. But for those of you who are in Pennsylvania, there's ways to do it. We figured out how to do it. And Woody's one of our Wrecking Crew members, and it's been fun now seeing him out in the home game. So, way to go, Woody.
Yeah, we're overdue getting Woody back in the home game. I'm so glad to hear that. And John, was he able to, is it the same steps that you outline in that forum post?
Yes.
Okay,
it is
great.
The same steps as that forum post. I believe that should work.
So if anyone's having any trouble, John's put a forum post together on how you can do this in a way that doesn't break any terms of service with anybody. It's all completely above board. You can download hand histories from the home game as long as you're not playing on the VPN. And then you can always reach out to me, Jim at rec.poker, if you want to get some help working with those hand histories or anything from there on. So go check that out because it's a huge help. Nice work, John.
All right, John, we're through one winner.
Yep. Well, I figured, at least I got through halfway through that before I got interrupted. Next, we have Megra44, Doug Drabeck.
Megra!
His third Daily Standard victory of the year.
Nice work, Doug.
Stewie13, Stuart Carriage,
I think.
Yeah.
Stuart Carriage. I just always think of him as Stewie. Anyway, he got his third Daily Standard victory of the year. He's been on fire. That's 3 this year.
And we got two of the folks in the chat so far. This is amazing. Doug and Stu. Nice.
Oh, that's why they're here. Come on, let's be honest.
No, it's because it's the people that show up. They're the ones that put their heart and soul into the game. That's what it is.
Yeah, actually, Stewie's shown up for a lot of these before he won, so it wasn't just to hear his name.
Oh, quit trying to defend him, John.
Okay, Jasper Jr., Patrick Berry, got his first Daily Standard victory of the year. GF Hawk, Eric Romo, got his second Daily Standard victory of the year. MN Ted, Phil Fuhrer got his second Daily Standard victory of the year, and John Lutzy.
Yeah.
Won the Daily Mixed tournament this week.
Did he?
And then Jasper Jr. decided he was not done, and Patrick Berry won his very first international Daily Series victory.
Holy cow.
Rick the Good Dog, Rick the Rock Oman, got his second International Series victory for the year. And then to round it all out, Monkey System, Keith Brandt won the Daily Learn Play Poker game and won a month to learn pro poker.
Nice.
Yeah.
Keith's gonna have so much fun at Learn Pro Poker because he's like a stat nerd like me. And he likes working with solvers, and he's gonna find some really high level stuff at Learn Pro Poker. Good for you, Keith. Well done.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the last one, I'm trying to remember who the three people were, but the last tournament ended with a big hand, like two flopped big flushes and a flop two pair to kind of end it. I know Rich Dietz was in there as one of them, and I'm trying to remember who the other one was, but Keith came out on top there. So way to go, Keith. Fun stuff. Thank you, Mr. Somsky. Anything else on the home games that we should be aware besides you potentially looking at ways to add more home games?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm just always trying to figure out how to bring more to everyone.
People don't know the inside scoop, but you're the one recently that brought up the idea of maybe adding a little bit. So I just want to be clear that what we could add. So
Yep.
Yep.
All right, good.
We'll tease that out a little later, but I'm still laughing at that idea. I get his email from John. It's like, well, and I can't believe I'm suggesting this, but
We can't get enough, man. We can't get enough.
Right.
Yeah, we have all kinds of people suggesting other things we could add. Keep the suggestions coming. We do keep them, and we're always noodling what we can do. But Mr. Jonesy, what's happening on the content front?
Yeah, I mean, so April, we've got a whole seminar coming up on turns and rivers, and we're starting to get ready for our May seminar, which is going to be all about kind of finding and identifying leaks. And stay tuned because we may be shaking up after May. We're just going to have some conversations. We may be shaking up some of this stuff. So more news to come on some of the upcoming content.
And it's hard not to share some of the conversations that are happening, but it's only going to be shaken up if it's an improvement and it's better and it's even more robust. Because the seminars, the people that we get the feedback is like, these are fantastic. Jonesy's got some ideas that are going to take the learning to the next level of learning and application and community. And it's so exciting, and I hope it works out. But great things ahead. All right, Mr. Washam, how about book study stuff?
Well, we had our first one. We're having our second one is scheduled for April 7th. We still have another book to give away, so I think we have to figure out how we're going to do that. I could put another Twitter thing out there, I suppose, and see if we can get some interest that way. But we should do that soon because April 7th is coming up. I mean, this will be released, April 5th?
Yeah.
April 5th. So,
well, probably I already will have given it away by then, but just in case.
Right.
Yeah. Check it out.
What if it's like the person who begs the best to you for the book?
Oh, that's what it should be. No, that's what it is.
How about groveling? We give it away.
I don't know.
No, we could.
I don't want groveling.
And we give away your home email. We give away your home email and your cell phone number.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And your room number. We're going to give them your room number.
And
we'll see if anyone.
Address.
Yeah, see if anyone orders any room service to your room as a bride.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we'll figure out a way to give that away in the next week. So when you're listening to this, it's probably given away. But if not, check out Twitter and that sort of thing. But yeah, let's figure out a way to give that other book away.
I don't even think we mentioned what book it is. It's Modern Poker Theory by Michael Acevedo. I mean, and it's an intense book. We've had a lot of interest. I think we had 12 to 15 people in the Zoom chat last time went through it. So. A lot of interest and a lot of good participation from everybody. So
and that first one was really the kickoff, right? So April 7th is kind of the first read and discuss.
Yeah, well, we went through, some of the first chapter, which is basic. Is the first chapter is just the basics of poker language, how to talk about hands and that sort of thing. So it was still basic, but we're going to start to get into some more meat. I think we start getting into odds and some of the math behind it and combinatorics and that sort of thing. We're going to start getting into that on Wednesday, the April 7th. So
sweet. If you guys are listening to this is just a benefit of your premium membership at rec.poker. So it's $15 a month. You get all kinds of really cool stuff. But this is one of the benefits. You can sit in, be part of the book study, but then they're all recorded. And so you have access also to the previous one. So if you're thinking, oh, shoot, I'm full till like June, but then I'd love to dig in there. Well, join us. And then we'll go back and watch the previous ones and catch right up. So it's a great member benefit. I mean, everything we're talking about, a lot of free stuff, but a lot of good premium stuff as well.
And the book that we're doing in the book study is one that you don't want to take that on alone. It's a pretty intimidating piece. There's a lot of math, there's a lot of charts, and it's something that having a few people just to kind of talk about, hey, what do you think this actually means here, or why is this here and this is there? I think it's really made a big difference already in how some of us are feeling about it.
Yeah,
I think some of the nuances of his strategies that he's given us could be lost if you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Where somebody else could pick up something that you totally blew by and didn't even realize was a thing. So I agree. I think having a book study like this, especially for this book, is very good.
Yeah, and you get to meet some cool people. You get to meet the great Rob Washam if you're part of that deal. Oh, you keep shying away from that. You're on the Mount Rushmore, baby.
Yeah, our Zen master.
Awesome. Well, a couple other things that I know I wanted to chat about, and you guys can bring up other stuff too, but the Marek Madness, Chris Jones, I'm sorry, buddy. But Jonesy made it to the final. He was the most predicted winner of the thing. He was on the most of the brackets to win the thing. So pretty much you disappointed a whole bunch of people. Jonesy makes it to the final.
Including myself.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think the only person who's more disappointed than Chris is whoever is sitting in the same room as Taylor right now.
I don't think
Rest in deal with Taylor.
the same room as Taylor right now. His head's too big right now.
Was it in Binkley? I think had the perfect bracket if you went to screw it up. I think.
Sorry, Binkley. I'm really sorry.
But no, great stuff. So if you missed it, Chris Jones, Taylor Moss made it through the bracket. They played each other best 2 out of 3, and it went 3 matches. Just phenomenal play.
That last one was fairly epic. It was really long, and it was back and forth.
A lot of back and forth.
Really, so I was kind of glad that it ended on a good match.
It did, and I kept thinking, okay, looks like now Jonesy's got him. Now Taylor's got him. Now Jonesy's got him. And as the epic saga went on, the stack depths get lower, and you're just wondering what's going to happen, and it was really cool. I mean, I know Jim, you did such a phenomenal job. You and Ryan LaPlante in the booth. It was so fun. You guys did a great job on that. It was really, really good. I mean, you and Kim the week before, a bunch of Ben Enslow was in there. Different people were in there, but that final was fantastic. Ryan LaPlante and Jim doing the play-by-play. And now we have released these as YouTube videos. So if you go to the Rec Poker YouTube channel channel, and then there's a playlist for Marek Madness. The videos are out there from all 4 weeks of commentary. So check that out, Chris.
And I'll tell you, I mean, just listening to Ryan LaPlante, I never professed to be a heads up expert, and I know something about it, but just listening to him, there's like so many ways that you can improve heads up, and and it's such a different style of game where I particularly remember one hand where he's talking about 5-9 offsuit, and you got to do this here and do that there, and it's like I don't ever think about 5-9 offsuit. It's like it's insta in the muck, right? So but you've got to if you're playing heads up, you've got to be able to play with hands like that and figure out how to approach them. And he does a great job of walking people through it. So it's worth watching just for that. And then just you skip over the part where Taylor wins, but listen to Ryan and it's good.
Yeah, I think everyone thought that it was a huge success, and I think we'll definitely want to do this again. However, with the caveat that we have to have a different champion.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I mean, that's got to be goal number 1 of everybody in the Rec Poker community. That it's just target on Taylor. We're taking him down.
Yeah, I don't think he's even allowed to play.
No. That's right.
And we're thousands of plays out on Twitch. It's really fun to see that. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, Roger just put a question in the chat. Are the Marek recordings going to be posted for watching? Yeah, so if you go to the YouTube channel for Rec Poker Community, there's a playlist just for there. And we also have a bunch of other videos on our YouTube channel in various other playlists. And I would really ask anyone who's listening to this, please go to the YouTube channel for Rec Poker Community and subscribe. One of the things we're trying to do more in 2021 is get more YouTube videos out there, make it easier for people to share some of our bonus stuff. And it would help us out a lot if you could just go and subscribe to the channel. There's a link in the chat there if that helps for anybody. And that would be great. Thank you.
Cool stuff. Yeah. So super fun. People saying, how do we do this again? I want to do this. I want to be part of this thing. So we are working on it. We've taken all the suggestions and we're all strategizing around how we could do this, whether for next year, whether before. But the heads up thing is something we're all talking about a bit with, especially because we know that's when most of the money's on the line. And so how do we all get better at heads up? So we are noodling that thing. But Marek Madness, I'd say, was a great success. Taylor Moss, amazing job planning it. Obviously, he planned it in such a way so that he could win it. We all know that's part of how his strategy was. Like, let's set this up. The brackets were quote unquote random. I mean, all this stuff. But somehow he got through this thing. But great stuff. Learn Pro Poker, the partnership there is fully underway, which includes some of the home game stuff, includes some of the Discord stuff. But Jim, there's also maybe just to remind people what the whole seminar content thing is with LPP.
So Learn Pro Poker is collaborating with us here. So every month now, we share a much longer training strategy video from Learn Pro Poker. Comes out on the first day of the month. And then later in the month, I believe it's on the fourth Saturday, I host a 1 hour study group where we talk about what was in the subject matter of the video. We've all had a little while to watch it and to take some notes and put some questions together. And so we had the first one last week, which was great. It's free for all Rec Poker Premium members and also for all Learn Pro Poker members to come and join. So we had a nice little cross-pollination in the Zoom room. We got some new folks in there, some new ideas, and we had a really good time. And those videos will be shared as well. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with LPP, but it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, they've got some big plans for partnership, as do we, when things start opening up. So pay attention because it's going to be a fun journey ahead with that great crew over there. Another thing I wanted to mention, just with ACR. So I know if some of you are just getting into playing online, if you don't have an account and you're just going to open an account, we actually have some relationship with them, so you can actually get some rake back and things like that. So check out our website. The information's there. There's a couple of codes that you can use when you set up and when you make a deposit. And for new people that are depositing with our codes, we actually have a couple of tickets to give away for tournaments, like $5.50 tournaments that we can give away for people that are new ACR users and sign up. So just check out the information out there. Another quick reminder, we have so much stuff we could talk about, but Tuesday nights OPAs, super fun. That's where if you're a premium member, you can jump in the Zoom and just hang out as we're playing the home game. I'm trying to get in there as much as I can. I'm trying to free up my schedule, but Eric Jin, Rich Dietz, they're kind of leading the charge of being out there. We got some guests. I know Kim's out there quite a bit, but that's a real fun community-based thing. You don't see each other's cards. You might not be at the table with the same people that you're there, but man, it's just fun getting to know everybody. And I just feel sad whenever I can't make it. So I think that's a highlight for a lot of people's week. So do that as well. Is there anything else that we missed, you guys? I know there's a lot going on.
I should say this podcast comes out on a Tuesday. The Saturday afterwards will be the Jim's Poker Tracker review session. So once a month, we're doing one of these study groups every Saturday at noon Central. One's the Learn Pro Poker, one's about the monthly seminar, one's on the focus, and one's just Jim's Poker Tracker review. So we're going to get together and use Poker Tracker to look at people's hands or look at their data and see if we can find some leaks and bust them. This week, it's going to be our friend Ben Anslow, East Coast Bidder. We're going through a hand history of his where he did pretty well, and I don't want to name the tournament. I don't remember, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Come check that out on Saturday at noon.
Sweet, that's so fun. And Kim mentioned in the chat too about the OPAs on Tuesday nights, kind of rail each other, right? So you can be playing your table and you can observe other tables of people that are in the tournament. There is a lot of railing when people bust. People are sticking around and kind of rooting for each other. We've got a lot of really good run good on Tuesday nights. So it really is fun. And Kim is so much fun out there. Fantastic. And she's very great at poker, like one of our Wrecking Crew members. And so I'm always learning when she's explaining, well, man, you can now develop a limping strategy heads up when you get down to 35 bigs and all this stuff. So you learn a lot too. It's like having our own Ryan LaPlante out there in OPA. And speaking of railing, if you guys aren't on Discord, it's so much fun. Sometimes I'm like, I can't go to bed because we got several people that are playing online and they're like giving us updates. Doug Barron's just the other night ran deep in a thing. And so it's so much fun. If you like the virtual rail, if you kind of like to get updates from people, or if you like to give updates on what you're doing in the home games or eventually in live games, we got a whole crew of people out there that like to kind of follow along and root you on and, kind of pick you up when you lose half your stack or whatever. But that's another great place for community. And that was open free to the public. So jump into Discord. We do have a blast out there as well. Anything else, guys? Man, we got a ton of stuff going on. Somsky, how are you doing, man? Are you keeping that in the water?
I am trying to. I my fingers are getting down to the nub, as I've been entering all the results and capturing everything that's been going on, but it's all good.
Well, and to take the viewers behind the curtain a little, we're going to get together in about a half an hour to record the forums edition of the podcast, and premium members are welcome to join that too every 2 weeks after the chat. So hope those fingers still got a little love left in them. We're not done with you yet, John.
Well, we got to figure out a way to get him some help. But anyway, so if you're wondering what's all this premium member stuff about, go to rec.poker, check it out there. If you sign up for premium membership, use the code RECPOKER, you get $10 off your first payment. So it's $15 a month. So you can do that first month for $5. Give it a shot, and you can just cancel it if you don't like it. That's no problem. Or if you do the annual, which is $150, you get that, for $140. So different ways you can do that. Try it, check it out, try it out. Some really cool stuff going on. But unless there's anything else, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. I'm not seeing any big things. All right. So just want to thank again, Ashley Adams, fun guest. Pleasure to meet him. Thanks to the panel, Rob Washam, Jim Reed, Chris Jones, John Somsky. Thank you to Running Aces Casino, Racetrack, and Hotel. But check out Rec.Poker. Sign up for the newsletter. Email me, Steve at Rec.Poker, whatever. Get connected, everybody. We'll chat with you next week.